Assalamu alaikum, guys. Welcome to this episode of Freshly Grounded. Before we get started, just want to let you know about the announcement of our Freshly Grounded 2026 live UK tour. We are coming in just 5 weeks' time. We are going to be in London, Birmingham, and more cities to be announced. We're going to be doing a live UK stage show. It's going to be days before Ramadan. So if you're looking to prep for Ramadan and get yourselves in that mode and that mentality, come and check into Ramadan with all of us. I'm going to be there, and we're going to have some surprise guests, some great segments. If you've never been to a Freshly Ground event before, you have to come. It's like an event that no other event that you would have experienced. We have fun. We do all audience segments. We do quizzes. We do inspirational, hopefully, talks. And this show is going to be all about prepping for the month of mercy. The tickets are the cheapest they've ever been. So go grab them if you've never been to a Freshly Ground event. You can get your tickets at fg.live. That's fg.live. And with that said, let's get into the episode. Okay. So I've been away for a few weeks, and Freshly Grounded also, we haven't been posting in a couple of weeks. We've had a bit of a break. Not on purpose, because I think like initially there was like plans to like have episodes released and stuff, and it kind of all just went a bit wayward. So this first episode back, and I wanted to start by talking a little bit about Lats, because obviously last week we, the brother returned back to Allah. May Allah have mercy on his soul. May Allah grant him Jannah without reckoning, expand his grave, and accept him as a shaheed. So I thought it'd be good to start the first episode back, with a bit of discussion about him, and then also about I think like some of the lessons that I took and that we can take, and some of the conversations that I've had with some of the mashayikh and stuff about like since and about the passing of Lats. I think like I was gonna, when like do the first episode back, talk a little bit in detail about what happened in terms of how we even like found out the news and stuff like this, because we were on the tour. But I've decided not to do that for two reasons. One, because I don't want to make it about us or about me, and then the second one is because I don't even know. I think like one day maybe that like discussion will happen about, we were traveling with Sonny Bill at the time and stuff like that, and kind of we were on Sonny Bill Williams' tour, and it obviously really affected the tour, because Sonny had actually been training with Lats just the day before. Oh wow. Literally the day before, and so it affected Sonny a lot as well. And but yeah, I just don't think it's the right time. I think it's also so soon, and it all happened last week, and there's been so many layers to it, like the shock, and then the sadness, and then looking back at the memories and stuff like that. So I think, like I'm going to talk less about like, I suppose, like my relationship with Lats and stuff like that, and also about kind of who he was as a person. And then some of the conversations we've had with the mashayikh that have impacted, that have like led to kind of like where our thoughts should be and stuff like that. So obviously we know like Lats, in terms of like long form conversation, he was the first ever guest on Freshly Grounded as well, which I didn't even really know actually until his passing, because I for some reason always thought it was Muslim Bilal was the first ever guest. And I was like looking back on the episodes and stuff, I just kind of listened to what he was saying and things like that, and I realized he was the first guest. One of the things that I wanted to kind of lead by saying was, and this is something everybody has said, is you really realize the good in somebody when after they pass away, you see how many people speak about them in such a good way. Yep. I think that's like the number one thing that everybody has been mentioning, is like how great he must have been if so many people are speaking so well of him. And I think that is a testament to his character. And then the second thing I noticed is how many people have been affected by his death that didn't know him. So I think every single day since I've come back, people have been talking to me in the masjid and coming up to me and saying, hey bro, like I didn't know the brother and I've lost sleep. And that's like been the most common phrase that people have been saying. Like this affected them so much. I think this is one of the like signs from Allah, right? Like to in a sense to wake us up, which is one of the things I was going to mention. But so they're the two things that kind of stuck out to me the most. And then so I want to talk about both of them. So the first one being his character, rahimahullah, and then the second one being his the impact that it's had, right? And so on in terms of our brother Lats, his character, there was some thoughts that I had, but then one brother I spoke to put it all into like a really into basically one sentence. The thoughts that I had was Lats was always incredibly uplifting, really always smiling, always laughing. And so since the day he's passed away, I've in my head just had his laugh in my head and saw his smile. He's always smiling, always laughing. And you know those people who joke about and like in order to joke about, they'll like mock you and stuff. He was opposite. Like even when he was joking, he was uplifting you. And so he'd be like, Faisal, like, and he'll be like, say something about you being in better shape or how nice it is to see you after such a long time and how much he misses you and stuff. Even now, this is the first time I'm speaking out loud about Lats other than like with like my close circle. And it actually feels weird to speak about him even in past tense. Like it's still a shock that he's no longer in the dunya. But that is what his character was. And he was always smiling, always uplifting. And there's one conversation I remember from him that I had with him in the gym when I first ever met him. Not the first day I met him, but like in that period of time in 2016, 2017, when I was spending a lot of time with him. And I remember like I don't know why this conversation stayed with me to this day. I remember where we were. I remember what like exercise machine we were on. And I was basically doing the chest press on the chest press machine. And he was, spotting me, and he was talking about haters, and he was talking specifically about how he never hates on anyone. And he said, he goes, why would I hate on somebody's success when that is what Allah decreed for them? I'm essentially hating on Allah's decree. And how can I do that? And when he put it like that, it just changed perception for me for the rest of my life. And so I've never forgotten that conversation. And that is who he was, bro. He just was, whatever the opposite of a hater is, he was that. He was the opposite of a hater. He celebrated everybody's success. He would like, he would be like, I don't care for hate. And I'm like, he never held grudges. And he was like, let me uplift all the time. And he would care a lot about brothers, and he would care a lot about brotherhood. And the statement that changed, that I was able to encapsulate all these thoughts I had about Lats was when I spoke to Mustafa Briggs, who was a close friend of Lats. And after Lats passed away, we were having a conversation on DMs. And Mustafa said to me, I was very close to Lats. This is him saying, this is him speaking. He said, I was very close to Lats. And he goes, in all the years I've known him, I never once heard him backbite, and I never once saw him in a bad mood. And when he said that, I was like, oh my gosh, this perfectly encapsulates everything I've been thinking about and trying to say. I have never heard him backbite. I've never seen him in a bad mood. And how many people on this world can I say that about? And bro, the answer was zero. I've seen everybody in a bad mood. But it's not that I didn't see that enough. I've known him for like close to 10 years. I saw him enough to potentially see him in a bad mood, or have the opportunity to see him in a bad mood, but I'd never seen him in a bad mood. And also backbiting, I've never heard him backbite. And okay, maybe I could say that about a lot of people. There's a lot of people, alhamdulillah, in my life that I've never heard backbite. But I guess the two combined, I just thought to myself, I definitely can't say that about myself. And I think that like is what speaks for Lats's character. And I want that I spoke to MJ very briefly, just like a message back and forth when Lats passed away. MJ, obviously, Michael Jarman, one of Lats's close friends. MJ had been on the pod as well. And I just sent him a message, just I think saying that like I'm still in shock from it all. And MJ said, just make sure you honor the brother on your podcast. And so like that's really why I wanted to start with that, because I want it to be known that his character was immaculate. It was immaculate. And, we ask everyone here, I said it in my story when he first passed away, like just the best thing you can do, the best thing you can do. And this is not coming from me. At the time that Lats passed away, I was spending a lot of time with the startup that I had because he was on the tour. So I speak to him a lot. I was like, speak to him about what can we take from Lats' death? And then I was like, how do you process this? How do you process that? And then I was like, in the latter stages, as the days were going on, I was asking more about how we can prepare for death. And one of the things that he said is, he said like the best thing you can do is make dua for him. If you can make sincere dua for him, that's the best thing you can do, because you're talking directly to the creator, and Allah is capable of all things. So if you're listening to this, make dua for the brother. And then there's also other benefits that you can do, of course, which are like there's various different charity fundraisers going on for him, right? There's one obviously with the Spot Project, who we work closely with, who are building a masjid in his name. And there's another one that Haris has been putting out, which is by the Reed Foundation. You know, both charities that I know good from. So like definitely, and you're donating in, you know, for his sake, for him to benefit. So there's no reason not to do it. So that was like just a little bit about like his character. And then I know I'm going on a bit of a monologue here, but the second thing was, what can we learn from Latz's passing? And this is what I was speaking to Ustad Abdul Latif about. And Ustad said that essentially we have to prepare for death. Latz was one person that none of us would have expected to pass away when he passed away, because he was young, he was healthy, he was in his prime, and yet the angel of death waits for no man, and it doesn't wait for you to be ready. He just takes your soul. The angel of death takes your soul when it's the appointed time. And what Ustad said was that anyone who's passed away, they no longer have the opportunity to come back onto the dunya, right? But as it stands right now, we do have the opportunity to make whatever changes that we may regret. And so we should take heed of that. We should actually do that, because genuinely, as much as I think the reason so many people were surprised by Latz's death was also because of the fact that it was a shock, you know? And a shock, by definition, is something that you don't expect.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
Right? So it's like we also don't know. We can't expect our own death, and we can't. For some reason, we were talking about it for Sunny. Sunny was like, you know, you think you're gonna live your whole life until like 80s. You just don't know. And because of that, we must start preparing for death. And so I said to Sheikh Abdul Ahad, I said, how can we do that? And he said, it's just two things. People oversimplify it. And he said the two things are tawbah and ibadah. Make tawbah for your sins, make amends with your previous sins, and increase in your good deeds. And also it's individual for individual people, because a person who is, for example, in debt, you know, he might dedicate his next year of his life to clear himself out of debt, because or as fast as he can, because he does not want to die upon debt, because dying upon debt is a really dangerous thing, right? So it depends also, also I think a lesson from that is like, you have to look inwards at yourself. What can I do to prepare? You can't look at others and say, oh, he isn't doing this particular deed. He might be doing something that is better for his death, as long as he's doing the fara'id, right? Like he might be doing something that's better for his death, i.e., on the surface, it looks like he's not doing any extra deeds, but actually in the background, this guy is grafting to pay off debts, which from an individual perspective may be better for him. I go off tangent, but the point is that Ustad said that we have to prepare for death. And the main way to do that is ibadah, tawbah and ibadah. And also coming to terms with the fact that, we don't know when we're going to meet Allah. And it reminds me of an episode that we had with Abu Bakr Islam in one of our old studios. And he said that our pious predecessors... So he basically, Abu Bakr said to me, he said, if I told you that you're going to die tomorrow, what changes would you make? What would you do? And it's a rhetorical question, because the answer is that we would do so many things. We would make lots of tawbah for loads of our sins. We would change like a lot of things. We would, even like, there might be some things that we're doing that we know are in the gray area, but it's like, okay, if I know I'm dying tomorrow, I'm not going to take the risk. Like, it's not worth it. I'm even going to stop the grey area stuff. You'd make amends with people that you haven't maybe made amends with. You'd pay things off, and so on and so forth. And what Abu Bakr said to me in that episode is, he said, our pious predecessors, and he was speaking specifically about the Sahaba when he was talking about this, he said they were asked this same question, and they said there's nothing more we can do. They were living every day already like it was their last. And what an amazing way to live. And that's how we should be living. So they're the two reflections I just wanted to make at the beginning of this episode. I want to talk a bit about Lats's character and how much impact he's had on so many people, so much of the Ummah. And then also I just want to talk about the fact that ultimately this should be a reminder for all of us to prepare for death.
Yeah. May Allah have mercy on our brother Abdul Latif. But I think one thing you said is interesting, which is the impact that he had on people that didn't even know him, right? And I only ever met him once. I didn't really know him, but I know people who didn't know him at all, never met him, never knew he existed until he died, and yet they were again hugely impacted, making dua for him, and that's. I think, inshallah, it's a blessing from Allah upon him, that he had that impact beyond even just his circle. Yes, he had a following, but we're having this conversation before with Sulaiman Ibrahim, like, there's many people who've got even bigger following than him that when they pass, there's no like outpour of dua for them, like across the world, charity fundraisers happening for wells or masajid being built in his name. That doesn't happen for everybody. So inshallah, these are things that we can be optimistic about. These signs, we could be optimistic about his situation. May Allah forgive him. So yeah, man. And I guess the other thing I take from it is just like having good character, because everything you mentioned is just like his good character and how that emanated now beyond his circle, because the news of his character spread after his death and it's benefiting him on home back. So inshallah. So yeah, man.
Yeah, I've really been reflecting on character since as well, and I thought there's so many character traits that I need to improve.
Likewise, bro.
So many.
All of them. All of them.
Yeah, bro.
Like what you said about him being just very uplifting everybody around him. That's something I want to try to be better at as well.
Yeah.
And look, I only saw him that one time not long ago playing football. So I wasn't interacting with him. But again, even during that game and afterwards, he was very
even
smiley.
During the game, like he would take an attempt on goal. I remember that day. He would take an attempt on goal and then like he'd miss and then he'd like make it fun and do like
I would say high
celebration
energy.
or something.
High energy. It's like positive energy.
Very positive.
Very positive. And afterwards, like he was just like, again, there's just like smiley. You said like smile, and I saw that. So yeah, man, this stuff. You may think it doesn't make an impact on people, or they don't remember like exactly how you were for that half an hour you interact with them, whatever. But if it is a positive interaction, they do remember it. And likewise, if it's a negative interaction, if you're bringing negativity to people, if you are, again, opposite side of the spectrum now, if you are someone who's bringing people down, people will likewise remember that. And then when you do pass, maybe you won't get that dua from them, or maybe they won't give charity on your behalf because I only met him for one time and he was kind of rude to me, and then he didn't do that thing for you. And yeah, this is something that inshallah is from the good signs we can be optimistic from.
Yeah, bro. I can think of like such recent examples of when I was showing bad character.
Yeah.
Bad character, impatience, selfishness.
Right. The reason I brought up the football thing is because, again, let's talk about with the boys as well. My character's the worst at football.
Yeah, but you don't want people to remember you like
exactly.
that, bro.
And
yeah.
again, so
it's just not worth it. When you think about Lats, you think, oh my gosh, like no matter what the situation was, he didn't show that.
Yeah.
So, but I did recently on the tour, bro. I was showing such bad character for not like it there's very specific time, a moment that I remember, like I just had like a little bit like less patience and I use the excuse to say that like this was on my mind, and it was on my mind, but still I just do think to myself, like even if Lats was in that situation, he would have still been jolly. And I was showing some bad character, man, that I remember, and that annoys me. I also think that I need to be in 2026. I know it's just a Gregorian date, but we do think about our lives in years and stuff like that. And I do want this year to be a year where I work also on being way more selfless. And I mean, even in the micro things, my interaction is selfless in my interactions with people.
Yeah. How would you hope to embody that? Like when you say macro, like just the way the comments you make or don't make, or what? Or maybe just like your energy. How do you hope to actually embody that? I
think in time is one of the things, because time is like an asset that I really care about. But sometimes when you like care so much about time, you end up becoming really not selfish with it, but like
stingy with
it.
Yeah.
And I say micro instead of macro because I mean, like, there's obvious macro ways you can like experience selflessness, or like try and show selflessness or be selfless, like in community projects and things like that. But I think like, I think time is one of them, like making decisions that like actually pain me because they are a bit more beneficial for somebody else. That's what I want to do. That's the answer to your question. So I think it's easy to be selfless when it doesn't affect you.
Yeah.
I can be selfless in this situation. But I think like, you know, they say about there's different types of sabr, and the highest is when you love the test because it's from Allah. I want to try and be selfless to the point where like, even if a thing is really uncomfortable for me, really painful for me, that I do that thing because of the extreme benefit the other person would get from it. That's what I want to try and do more of.
Yeah, I think you and me are quite aligned on that, to be honest with you. I've got a similar thing where it's like, it's hard for me to dedicate time to something or someone or their issue when like I've in the forefront of my mind all the time, but I've got to handle this thing. I've got this task I've got to do. I've got this task this. So I'm trying to like rush what that thing is and get back to my task list. But that's not good, and it's bad character. It's bad like looking after people around you. You need to be someone who's like being proactive, looking after people, not just like doing the bare minimum. Like, I can get back to my stuff. And one thing that always crops up for me is like phone calls. So someone's calling me, I'm very much like, I just got to do this thing first. I'll call them back later. But someone's calling me right now, they might actually need something from me right this minute. And it might take me 10 seconds to answer and give them what they need, and that'll be that. So these, again, micro interactions where it's like, no, someone is literally reaching out to me right now to speak to me. I need to honor them and answer that phone call, unless I'm actually busy. You should do that. So these are like these micro things that I do that I hide behind. Oh, I'm introvert. I don't like to, or I'm avoidant, whatever it's called. Right? I don't like to sort of put myself out there. I don't like to talk too much. But I've got to put that to the side and be like, look, someone's trying to talk to you, or wants your time, or wants to meet you, or wants to call you. You need to put yourself aside sometimes, man.
Yeah. A good simple example of it is, let's say, for example, if somebody wants to borrow your car, it's easy for you to say yes if you're not using your car that day. It's still easy for you to say yes if you think, do you know what, I'm going to be nice, I'm going to lend them my car because they need it, and I'll just get a cab to work. It's still easy because, okay, it might cost you 20 quid, but you might be in a situation where actually 20 quid isn't paying you that much. What's difficult is when they really need to use your car and you really need to use your car, and you say, do you know what, it's fine, take the keys. And you now have to walk in the rain, get the bus, get the tube and stuff like that. That's the level of like, you've actually genuinely now put yourself in difficulty to make somebody else's life easier.
Yeah.
And I'm not asking Allah to give me difficulty, but what I am saying is when opportunities arise where I can really be selfless, I want to be better at taking those opportunities, even if it does cause difficulty for me in that way. Yeah, that's when you truly know you're doing it sincerely as well, because now it's like you actually are going through an issue to do it.
Yeah, man.
Right?
Yeah, I agree. I think you and me kind of had the same sort of struggles around that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I wanted to start the podcast with that, but I also thought I would tell you a bit about some parenting stuff because I've been doing my parenting workshops.
Yeah.
And you might be thinking to yourself, Faisal, I didn't know you're a parenting expert.
No, I did know that actually, because I've seen you along about parenting, and I think you are an expert.
No, I'm not an expert at parenting, but I did think to myself that obviously academically I had to study social psychology, behavior, punishment, discipline,
so you're
that stuff. I might be a little bit of an expert in stuff like punishment and discipline and stuff because I studied it. So I basically thought, a lot of people have been interacting with me who are parents, and so I thought, let me put all of that academia that's to do with social behavior, like we studied like stuff like how an environment shapes a person. But obviously we studied it in a way where it's like how an environment shapes a person so that they become a criminal. So it's like, can I remove that last bit and still be like, well, what does this theory say about how an environment should shape a person? And then we learn about like different types of discipline and punishment in criminology, and the effect of them. So different countries punish differently because they want a different outcome. Where like, so one and different, and those same countries might punish a crime in different ways because they want different outcomes. So an example of that would be, let's say for example, there's a new crime that is getting a bit popular.
Just released.
Yeah, just released, fresh crime. Yeah, fresh crime. They might punish using the idea of deterrence. So they might do a strong punishment because they're like, oh, this is a trend that's popping up. Let us like be really harsh on the first few people do it so that other people get scared of committing that crime. So deterrence would be the goal of that punishment. Whereas with another crime, the goal might be retribution, and stuff like that. And so like they're the kind of things I've studied. Okay, so in that, I basically started deep diving a little bit back into my theory of like what we were studying. And I wanted to tell you about not all of these things, but I want to tell you about one particular thing to do with parenting that I think is like unanimously true. But I guess like, unless it's scientific quantitative data, you can't really ever say something's like unanimously true. But I think as unanimous as you can get, and it is based on data, is essentially answering the question, what is the best way of parenting? Which I think I have the answer to.
Okay, go on.
So for that, I basically put together a spectrum, which was, imagine a quadrant, and I could just show it to you, but because people are listening to this,
just imagine it.
Yeah. Because people are listening to this and not necessarily watching it, I'm gonna try and describe it. So imagine a quadrant, and in the top left, you have a parent who gives high love to their child but low discipline. This is what we would call nowadays gentle parenting. Yeah. Extremely loving, everything's okay, let's talk about feelings, but they're very low on discipline. On the bottom left, so directly underneath it of the quadrant, is low love, low discipline. I hope that nobody listening to this falls into this category, because that's just a really bad parent. It's like you're not giving any love or any discipline. But you can do that when you don't want to, I suppose, discipline your child because you don't want to be harsh to them and strict, but then also you're not giving any love. You're a cold parent, and maybe you feel like there's a reason for it, but you know, that's quite bad. And then on the bottom right, you have low love but high discipline. And some people listening to this might fall into that, not because they intend to give low love, but I think like I've seen it more so in men. And especially if you think about a typical first or second generation dad coming from Pakistan, Jamaica, or whatever. Like, I'm just thinking about the people that we have around us who have talked about their experiences with their parents, maybe Turkey. But the point is they've been brought up in a very strict way. And so they've like raised their children in a very strict way where they have extremely high strictness and they show low love, not because they don't love their child, but because they think that if they show too much love, maybe the child will become soft or won't become disciplined in certain actions. So I think that one is forgivable as well. I think the only one out of those three that is not probably forgivable is low love, low discipline.
Yeah, it's like indifferent, isn't it?
Yeah, but I think if you give high love and low discipline, it's because you love your child so much that you don't want to hurt them. And low love, high discipline, you love your child so much that you don't want to hurt them in the opposite way by showing them too much love. So then that leaves one square of the quadrant, because that's how maths works. Yeah. That's how quadrants work, right? Now that fourth one is where I believe the perfect parent exists and the perfect parenting. And that is the top right of the quadrant, which is high love, high discipline. And that's the happy medium. So this is when you are stern when needed and you have rules and regulations and you implement them, and you have routines that are to be adhered to, but you also have high love. So you shower your children with affection as well, and you do everything in the right time. And that's the approach that I basically believe is the right approach to parenting. So then I basically go into, in this seminar, I just really targeted gender parenting quite aggressively. I was like, this is why gender parenting is bad. I'll give you some of the reasons actually. So the good thing about gender parenting is that it gives emotional validation to the child.
Yeah.
I think that's the only good thing. After that, it gives unclear boundaries, it gives inconsistent consequences, and it makes a child feel like that the authority of the parent is negotiable.
Yeah. Even on what was the first thing that benefit emotional
validation. Yeah.
Even then I'd say like, you know, you're doing emotional validation, but from the insincere way, because if everything is wrapped in like gentleness and love, it's not real validation, because as soon as they step out of your parenting bubble into the real world, though all the rules change. Yeah. So in actuality, you probably overcompensated on that, and you've actually, sort of rewired them in the wrong way. So I would even push back on that.
Yeah, yeah. But that's kind of like what I end up saying. Back. Yeah. So I say that what that does is it creates questions that the child asks implicitly, obviously. They're not sitting there asking these big life questions, but they ask things like, who's in charge? What actually happens if I don't listen? What actually are the limits? And then what it leads to is lower impulse control, behavioral issues, difficulty respecting authority later, and struggles with frustration. The reason structure is needed, I go into loads of reasons why structure is needed in children, but I'll just give the main overbearing one, which is that children, like us as even adults, they feel safe with predictability. And the biggest thing that builds predictability is routine. If they know that every time I go to sleep in the same room and in the same environment and all this kind of stuff, have dinner at the same time, what that does is it builds predictability, and predictability is the factor that increases child feeling safe, and child feeling safe reduces anxiety. And so all in all, you have a happier child when they have routine. And routine is not something that a child is going to give themselves at 4 years old. You have to build a routine, which means sometimes you have to be strict and you have to say, no, we're sticking to the routine. Today, for example, I had a conversation. This is going to sound like me saying, oh, look how perfect my children are. It's not. But I had a conversation with my children today saying that they're not allowed to come to Maghrib and Isha at the masjid. Now, I'm not trying to be like, oh, look at my children, they come to Maghrib and Isha. They actually don't go to Maghrib and Isha at the masjid. It's just that my father-in-law is visiting right now. And so he's like dragging them, right? Okay, yeah. But I told them today, I was like you're... Maghrib is too close to bedtime, and so then you have your dinner late, and then you go to bed late, and then you're complaining in the morning saying I'm too tired for school. So it's like taking you off your routine. So they don't really want to go to Maghrib in the masjid. They just want to stay up, and that's the excuse for them that granddad could take us to the mosque and stuff. But really and truly, it's that they just want to stay up late, and I can see that in them. And then like when it's like, oh, time for bed, they're like, oh well, we didn't have dinner. And it's like well, so then I'm like, oh, okay, I have to re-implement this routine because it's actually affecting them. So that's why structure is so important. But in order to have that structure, you do have to be a bit strict sometimes, and parents are scared of being strict. And then in the seminar later, I go into like examples of how to actually be strict in a way where you have high warmth and high love, but also high structure. I'm not going to talk about that now in this episode, but what I will say is that it is backed on data. So there was a few studies that I found, but there was one that I thought was interesting that I wanted to discuss with you. So there was a study done in from the 1960s to the 1990s, and it was a longitudinal study, which means it was done over a long period of time, and it was an observational study, which means that over that long period of time, the person doing the research was observing the people that were in the study. So basically what she did is she observed. The reason observational, by the way, is important for me to mention here is that she could have just done surveys on the parents, like, oh, how did you raise your children? And then she could still do it longitudinally. She could still, after 30 years, see what the adult's behavior is now like, and then be like, okay, well, in the survey, the parents said that they did this. Now I'm seeing a pattern of this. But that's, could be flawed because it's based on what the parent inputs in their survey. So instead she did observational. So she actually watched their parenting techniques and then she watched them in adulthood. The conclusion she came to was that children who are raised with high warmth and high structure, which is what she called authoritative parenting, consistently showed better self-regulation, higher emotional stability, better impulse control, greater respect for authority, and higher social competence. Children raised with high warmth but low structure, which we would now call gentle parenting, but she called it permissive parenting. They ended up showing poorer self-control, more impulse behavior, more difficulty following rules, and greater behavioral problems over time. And one of the other key points was that warmth but no structure, so again, gentle parenting, did not produce children who were confident or regulated adults. And I think that's really important to mention, because I think we think that when we're being gentle parents, that we're benefiting our children or we're not harming them, but actually over the long term you are.
Yeah.
So that's one thing I want to mention. I will go off on a tangent and do a bit of a cheeky plug here and say that all of this information and the details are in my seminars. And so I'll put the link for that in the description, because I need to change the link. But you can, they're pre-recorded, they're post-recorded, whatever, like the recording of them are available.
Yeah.
So if you've missed it on the stream, you can watch it back. And once all of I'm doing them for an hour and a half every Saturday for 3 Saturdays. But even once all of them are done, I'm going to be, for the same price, putting them up, and so you can watch them as well. So yeah, go
grab it.
Go grab it.
Yeah. How would you? Okay, so I think you're right when you say.
I just gave you studies, Kaya. You don't think I'm right. You know I'm right.
Yeah, you literally backed it up with data, science. The quadrant bottom right, yeah, the low love, high discipline.
Yes.
That you said a lot of people would fall into, your kind of accidentally maybe.
Even I fall into that, by the way.
Sometimes I do as well.
Yeah,
that's why I'm asking this. I'm a horrible at that. But sometimes I do. Like, let's say, for example, like, you know, child's very tired today. I'm also very tired today. We're having a bad day. It's like there's a lot of discipline has happened today, and not much love has been shown today, just because, like, just reasons, right? And I realized that I'm like, how can I sort of turn this around? What advice would you give to turn that around? Where it's like, look, it's a bad day, or it's a bad, couple of days, and you're in discipline mode. How do you, and you feel like if you do flip out of discipline mode right now, it's the wrong time to do it because the behavior is so bad. But I've also seen good, not studies and stuff, but so, again, experts speaking this, where it's like, no, that is a good time to, if things are sort of getting out of hand in that sense, you should calm down the discipline and actually just show them love, to go back to what you said about make them feel safe again, make them feel like loved, and that can actually work in that way. So what would you recommend in that situation where it's like you just feel like you've gone very hard on discipline recently and not hard on love recently?
Well, as a parenting expert, Kaya, bro, the answer to that question actually is that inconsistency in how you parent is the problem. And so you can't immediately, today I was high on discipline, so tomorrow I'm going to be high on love. It doesn't work. And actually that damages a child more, because they can't predict what, one day if I do this thing, my dad shouts at me, but the next day if I do this thing, he doesn't shout at me and he still gives me hugs. Like, so what's happening here? They get confused, and that's inconsistent parenting, and that's what leads to them not understanding, them not having predictable parenting. What children need is predictable parenting. And so the answer to your question is that you need to constantly be strict and loving, strict and loving, strict and loving. You can't have, unfortunately, one day where you're extremely strict with no love, and then the next day you're extremely loving with no strictness. That doesn't work. You have to weave them both all in, and you have to be consistent, which means that no matter what your mood is, which is where we struggle the most, you have to, as an adult, self-regulate your mood enough that you can consistently be the same parent for your child. And that's what is difficult. I find that really, really difficult. I was out there this morning. My wife, I told my wife today, I called her after the school, and I was like, Khalil was like crying going into school. He's like being, he didn't want to go in and stuff. And she was like, well, it probably didn't help that you were so angry this morning. And so I'm not saying, I'm like perfect at it.
No.
I had a really like moody morning with my kids. So that doesn't help, because then that is the result of it, is what we were saying, is like it's inconsistent. It's like, well, some mornings dad's okay, other mornings dad's angry, but both times we did the same thing. So it's not helpful. So you have to work on yourself longer term. You have to fix those things. And the reason that your child probably is being difficult is probably because you don't have those things and those routines and stuff like that. And the biggest thing, all of that comes down to is routines and structure. If you can create routines and structure, eventually you don't have to fight. You won't have to fight half of the battles that you're fighting, because a child is on your wavelength and is predicting the things that, like, your child is not going to fight you every day at 6 p.m. to brush their teeth if if every day that's what they do, it's gonna be like brush teeth, and then they'll go and brush it. But then also they can predict what the punishment is going to be if they don't listen to you. And by the way,
confiscate a toothbrush.
As a parent, you shouldn't get yourself ideally to the point where you're getting that frustrated either. And there's a really good parenting expert on she's called like Brat Busters Parenting or something, and she's like the anti gentle parenting. And her thing is, if in that scenario, for example, let's say your child is screaming and kicking because they don't want to brush their teeth to go to bed, her thing is never repeat yourself, because when you repeat yourself to a child, you are showing them that it's up for negotiation, and they're realizing that, oh, like my child's getting wound up, and then they realize that the only time I have to listen really is when my parent gets wound up. No, say it once, it's time to brush your teeth. If they don't listen, go pick them up and take them to the bathroom. Yeah. So they eventually what they'll realize is, if I don't listen first time, I'm physically going to be moved. That's strict. Like a gentle parent wouldn't do that. They're like, oh no, let's not do that. But also, bro, what a gentle parent, I mean, I'm not talking a gentle parent, I'm saying an extreme gentle parent, would like also not, they're gentle in the wrong times. And so you have to have consistency in when you're being, so you have to be consistent in when you're being strict is the point.
Yeah.
One perfect example is safety. When it comes to safety, you always have to be strict. There's no time to be gentle. There's no time to be, oh no, don't put your hand there, the stove is hot. Yeah. No, if you touch a stove, you're burning your hand, bruv. Like, you have to be strict. No pleases, no thank yous. Instantly move away from there, right now. Physically move them. Because, you saw it, by the way. I can feel the room shaking. Bro, you have to, safety is one of those issues.
And on this, like, again, there's wisdom to how to do things as well. Like, you could do the right things, but do them wrong, right? So, like, okay, physically move the child. That also doesn't mean grab them by the ear and take them. It's like you still gently pick them up, you put them there without anger, without malice, anything like that. You just do it gently. But that is a very good thing that I've implemented recently. I did it once, where instead of repeating myself, my wife reminded me, no, stop repeating yourself. Just go and pick her up, put her there.
Yeah,
and that worked.
You now have your youngest daughter now is old enough for you to now need to discipline her sometimes, right? Yeah. How old is she? 2?
She's 2.5 now.
2.5, yeah. So she's starting to get to the point where it's like...
So recently, last maybe month or so, she's been... And again, you got to judge it by each child different, right? You know when they pass a threshold of like, okay, you kind of know what you're doing now, and you do need to be disciplined, because this behavior is not like, oh, she doesn't understand the consequence. No, you do know what's happening. So she's like hitting her sister, for example, or like... just purposefully not sharing something she understands what's right and wrong in this situation, and she's purposely not doing it. So what I've done recently is, if she hasn't listened the first time to stop hitting, for example, I'll physically take her upstairs with me. I don't leave her by herself, and I explain to her why that was wrong and that she's to stop doing it. And then she agreed. I asked her to agree to stop doing it, and then I say you have to go and apologize. And I've done that, I think, twice now, with good results, alhamdulillah.
Let me put something interesting to you. This isn't my I don't know if what I'm saying is right or wrong, right? But
well, you're an expert.
Yeah, exactly. No, because I want to challenge what you're doing, and I don't want to sound like I'm being like no. So everything you're doing is wrong. No, I'm joking. So half of what you're doing is...
Don't hold back, by the way. Like, tell me if I'm totally wrong.
By the way, this is... I don't know if this is like how it is, but I'll just say what I've been reading up on. Yeah. So first of all, different children at different ages, you have to discipline in different ways, which is what you've done perfectly there, right? It's just like you wouldn't say to you've never said your children's names on podcasts. Okay, fine, so I'll stay away from it. So you wouldn't say to your older daughter, oh, no, don't hit her. You'd probably be a little bit more harsh, right? But with your younger daughter, you have to be softer because she's 2, bro. Yeah. Like, and so generally with like kids who are like 0 to 2, was definitely like 0 to 2. Well, I mean 0, forget 0 because like 0 is literally like 1 to 2, 1 to 2 years old. It is a bit more of like no, and that's all you can say. No, and then you remove them.
They generally listen, of course. In that time, they do just like, oh wow, I'll stop that. And after 2, it starts to get a bit.
So when you say no, they know, okay, that word means I shouldn't do it. And then after 1 no, you should remove them. And then eventually what they do is they start connecting the dots in their head, and they start going, okay, every time dad says no, and I don't listen, he then like removes me away from the situation. And so eventually they do, even though they're just like 1 or 2 years old, they do connect that pattern and go, okay, he said no. If I don't stop, I'm about to get physically moved. It's not worth it. Like, I'll just move. And so that's like the only way you can basically discipline someone who's that young. Whereas obviously when they're 4, 5, 6, which is kind of the age of our elder children, that's when actually you can start doing things. So yeah, say no, doesn't work, remove them. The thing that I am interested in, because I do exactly, by the way, many times I've done what you just said, but one of the things that I'm interested in is I was watching this parenting expert who was saying, don't do the second bit, which is talk to them about it. So you said no, she didn't listen, you removed her, great. But then you went upstairs and you spoke to her about it. Interestingly, she was like, don't do that. And she gave this example, which I thought was a really good example. She said, if a policeman stops you for speeding and pulls you over, they don't sit there and like say to you, right, are you going to like, I don't know, whatever, like have like a therapy session with you. They tell you what, they say, move you for the situation, here's your punishment, you're fine or whatever. And you already know what you've done wrong. At that point, you don't want a therapy session. You don't want them to ask, you'd get annoyed if they asked you to start recounting what you did wrong and what you would have done better next time. And if you understand that it's wrong, no, they're like, here's your punishment. And you're like, all right, cool. And you keep it moving. You don't want therapy at that point. And just like that, a child, trust me, knows what she was doing wrong. She knew that hitting was wrong. She does not need it explained to her. She does not need for you to ask her how she was feeling at the time. And she doesn't, and also it's embarrassing for her if now you're dragging out of her an explanation. Like, it's not nice for her to go through that thing. It's like, how would it be nice for you to explain to the policeman, okay, well, like, I guess, like, you're right. Like, no, I don't want to hear, okay, cool. Like, I get I'm wrong. I shouldn't have done it. Here's my punishment. Cool. The kids are the same. And so her thing is, you don't need to have that conversation. Yeah. I don't know how...
I understand the thing, but for me, it's like the therapy is the punishment.
Yeah.
You are getting...
I do it as well, bro. Like, I have that conversation with my kids. I'm like, you know, cause it's wrong. Like, you shouldn't do that. These are the consequences. You could hurt them. But actually, I think what she's saying is right. They know. They're not silly. They know that what the consequence of hitting is.
Yeah, but I also want to instill... I'll look into it because it could be the correct way to do things. But I also want to instill the concept of if you do something to physically hurt someone, especially, you need to apologize quite quickly.
That's true, 100%.
So I have to have the conversation to lead it into that.
100%, you're right.
That's why I was doing it. But yeah, I'll look into that because that does make sense. Just...
You're right though, because the story thing is really important.
But then, so let's say, for example, because again, you're not also supposed to leave them by themselves. So I don't know if you have any opinion on that. Apparently, you're not meant to remove them and put them in their room and say, you'll stay here for 5 minutes and then come downstairs when you're not supposed to do it, apparently, because you're making that child feel alone and isolated in their sort of time of emotional need, right?
Yeah, I agree with you, yeah.
And I think I agree with that as well.
Yeah.
So what do I do then? Do I just look at her for like 5 minutes and just not talk to her?
No, you did. I think you went. You picked up and you took and you kept it with you, right?
She's with me, but so
it's just that I speak
to her.
That conversation. I guess it's like, what is the contents of that conversation? Yeah. Is it asking them to recount where they went wrong, that kind of stuff?
I didn't do that stuff. I just said all I said both times. I just reinforced what was wrong. You can't hit your sister. You hurt people. That's not right. You need to say sorry. That's pretty much what we said.
I had the same conversation 2 days ago with my 4-year-old, Khalil. He was like, he said, his mum said something to him and he said, I said, I don't want to. I can't remember what he said. And instantly I said, sorry? Because one of the non-negotiables is you can't be rude to your mum. And there's no need to be and so I picked him up physically. I moved him to the other room. I went with him. I got on his level and I spoke to him. So I did have a conversation. Yeah. And I said to him, no matter what, you do not raise your voice at your mum. And then I said, you have to go say sorry. So took him upstairs, he said sorry to his mum. But then after that, it was forgotten. Yeah. I wasn't still moody with him. His mum was like, it's fine. She put him to bed. So I think, again, it's like once the punishment has been served, you do have to then also show them once you've done the thing, you know. That's consistent parenting. Yeah. Consistently, every time you raise your voice to your mum, we're going to have this conversation. And I agree with you about the sorry thing, them saying sorry, because I was raised in a way where we had to apologize. And now I don't find it hard to apologize. Yeah. And I think that benefits me because if I do need to say sorry, I will say sorry and I will own up to my mistakes. But I know people who just can't get that word out of their mouth, bro.
And like I noticed this in my older child as well, like from early. So it's like, you know, not a learned behavior. Allah knows best if it's like whether it's genetic or what, yeah. But it's like she was at the beginning very hesitant to just like say sorry, which was very young for something she clearly did wrong, like she'd like whatever, hit one of us or whatever. And it would be difficult for her to get it out. So I purposely tried to train her out of that. And I'm trying to, you know, do the same for the younger one, basically, to preempt it. Because I feel that's quite important, man.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But yeah, bro, like honestly, the number one thing more than anything else that would improve your parenting is building routines and structure. That's the number one thing is things are predictable.
Which, you know, ironically, I'm not great at, to be honest. Yeah.
And then the second thing is us being better at self-regulating ourselves, which is really difficult. Yeah. I don't struggle as much with the routine thing, and I struggle more with the self-regulation. Like if I'm locked in work mode and then I have to turn into parent mode, I find it difficult to sometimes self-regulate because I'm like being impatient and stuff like that. But that is when children, they're not going to do well with that. But yeah, like in general, bro, like we're speaking now about, have conversations with your kids and stuff like that. But I want to emphasize that it is also very important to be strict on your kids.
Yeah.
And not falling into that thing of like just being super, you know, only like letting everything slide and things like that, because then they're not going to build up like even little things that you think, okay, he ate and then he left his. It depends again on the age, but for both my older kids, if they eat and then they leave their plates on the table, I'm not picking their plates up for them because that's how they're not going to learn. And bro, I've had so if someone's a guest at my house, and they come and they eat, I do not expect them to pick up their plates, because they're a guest, right? And in fact, probably when I go to somebody's house, depending on the situation, I might not even pick up my plate because I might actually be intruding by going into their kitchen and things like that. However, if someone's staying at my house, like staying there, I have to preface this because I know that my in-laws listen to the podcast, and 100% this is not about my in-laws. Definitely not about my in-laws. They do so much for my house, but I'm saying that because they're staying at my house right now, so I don't think that this is about them. But I've had it previously when I had someone stay at my house, and they're staying at my house for like 3 or 4 days, and it's like they'll eat and they've left their plate on the table, and it's like, well, now you could, if you want, pick up your plate. You could do that. So I want my kids to be the kind of people who have that initiative, right? And so my kids, they'll eat the food's from plate, and I'll say, I will not pick up the plates. I'll say, Zachary, have you finished eating? Yeah. Okay, well then what do you do with your plate? And then he won't have to say, he'll just come and pick it up and put it down. But it's like non-negotiable. You have to pick up your plate, man. Like put it in the sink.
Yeah, and a lot of it is just like, the habits you instill in yourself as well. And again, self-regulation plays a big role here. They will eventually pick up on what you do and they'll follow suit. Even if they're going through like the phase where I'm not picking up your plate. If they see you as the man of the house and woman of the house picking up your plate constantly and putting it in the thing, like you don't leave it for your wife to do it, wife doesn't leave it for her husband to do it, you are doing that, they will eventually just be like, oh, okay, I'll just do that myself.
Yeah, leadership's very important.
100%.
Yeah, the kids, that's the number one thing people often say, isn't it? Like kids follow your actions, not your words.
100%.
And it's true.
Yeah, they're watching, not listening.
Yeah.
They're really not listening.
Yeah, the kids do not listen. Yeah.
Yeah, but another thing is that when I was growing up is how on the topic of guests, right? And I think if you get these sort of little rules right, it sort of spills over to other things. In my house, it was very important when a guest came, if you're in your room, you have to come downstairs and greet them at the very. You don't have to stay the whole time they're there.
Yeah, that's
you
good
must
point,
come downstairs and greet them. Yeah. And that was one thing I saw, like maybe other families growing up. I was like, they didn't have that rule.
Yes.
And it really, there definitely was some sort of like, parallel between that rule being implemented and like general like rudeness or not rudeness and like politeness. So things like that, these sort of small...
That's a really good one, bro.
Yeah, these small things that you think are just like, wishy-washy. I think they're like a linchpin for like, how is that person going to like, how's their personality going to develop are they going to be someone who's polite and, someone's walked in, I need to go say hello to them? Or are they going to be someone who's thinking, doesn't matter.
Yeah, I'll just stay upstairs.
Someone else get a plate, someone else say hello to them.
Yeah, exactly.
These small things, they add up.
Yeah. No, that's a really, really good example. I can imagine your parents implementing that.
Oh, yeah.
You can generally see when somebody has like been raised well, especially when you see siblings. Like you and Karen both have very similar personalities when it comes to like how you greet people and stuff like that. I've noticed, and so you can only attribute those things to parenting, right?
Yeah, man. It's these things. I mean, how was the kids?
Who was more strict on like morals and stuff? Your mum or your dad? Not morals, but like those kind of things.
Yeah, it was my dad, but my mum wouldn't enforce it. So like it felt like my dad. It was my dad's rules. My mum was very good at enforcing. So my dad used to work a lot. The rules wouldn't disappear when he wasn't there.
Yeah, that's
so
important.
That was important as well. Like again, consistency between husband and wife. Teamwork between husband and wife. I think you mentioned this one of your posts where it's like, if your wife says no to something, it's automatically no from you as well, and vice versa, because you have to have a united front there.
You have to, yeah.
And my parents were quite good at that, so that helped a lot.
Yeah,
it was my dad, setting those rules. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Salman Ibrahim.
Yes.
Give us one thing that your parents did in raising you that you are grateful for. One strict thing. It has to be a strict thing.
Strict thing.
Suleiman, is your camera even on? It doesn't show on. It doesn't
because connected to the screen. So it goes off.
Nice.
One strict thing that my parents were always on top of with me and my brother was actually speaking Arabic.
That's a really good one.
Good.
When I was young, I actually learned Arabic before I learned English.
Okay.
Because it was in the household. And at the time, or even like going to Arabic school, another one. It was
a Arabic school?
Yeah, Saturdays. Every Saturdays for 4 years.
Wow.
It was like half language, half Quran.
Okay.
For the day.
Wow.
At the time, I didn't enjoy it. Of course not. I don't want to be at school again on a Saturday, or even like the language side of things, like having to be forced to speak Arabic all the time. But now I'm so grateful for it because my Arabic is very strong, and I can conversate with anyone. I can conversate either with the uncles and the aunties and stuff like that, or even being here.
Yeah.
So I think it's a really good skill to have, and that was something that I was strict on, and it's something a conversation that me and my wife always have now, where it's like when we have kids, inshallah, if we're blessed with kids, it's like, how much are we going to enforce this? Because Arabic is technically our second language. So we have that discussion a lot because I think it's so beneficial seeing how it's helped me. So that's a conversation we always have.
Yeah, I like that.
I like that. That's good. That's good. Suleiman?
Mine's a bit similar, but it's a Quran class. So from when I was like in primary school, like I think I started 4, every single day, Monday to Thursday, 5 to 7. All 4 of my brothers, they will send us to, we're still in mosque, but the old one.
Yeah.
So before it was renovated, every single day, and like it was just strict on that. Like
pre-renovation, Kaya. It's important. It's important that we keep that in the podcast.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pre-renovation, but yeah, there was just
What's wrong
there
with
was just strict on it. So I remember I tried to get out of it, but it wasn't that. It had to go. I went all the way to like year 8 or something.
Yeah.
So that's
good,
something
man.
that's strict on.
I did Turkish school on Fridays, but man, it didn't help.
So you guys all went to like your culture schools on
Yeah.
On Fridays you went? Oh, after
Friday
school?
night, after school. It's like a Friday night thing, like 2 hours in the evening, 3 or 4 hours, I guess, in the evening.
Would you what's really interesting about that is that you guys have mentioned. Is that something that you one of the things that you're grateful for or not?
I am, because it helped culturally, like some identity was there, and there was a little bit of learning going on, but not a lot. Like the teaching wasn't great, but I learned. I must have learned something.
What's really interesting about that is that because of the different ways that we've all been raised, for me, because we never got sent to any kind of school outside of school,
Right.
I'm really grateful for that. And I don't want my kids to go to any school outside school.
Really?
Like we used to have like kids who would like go to weekend school, like Cumon and stuff like that.
Yeah, I went Cuban as well.
Yeah, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, do you not get a break?
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then I remember in those moments, I remember like one time, like we were looking after one of my friends or something, like my mum had to babysit. And then so she dropped him to his Saturday school or something. And I remember dropping him like outside and sitting in the car and be like, yo, I feel sorry for him, man. He's going to school, bro, on the weekend. Like, so I remember that feeling, thinking like, wow, like I want my kids to not do that as well, because I enjoy not doing that. But I also see a massive benefit of like Quran and everything like that. Yeah.
Like, I mean, imagine, bro. Yeah. I wish I was like forced to go to Quran and the Arabic.
That's true. Yeah,
I wish I was. So yeah, sometimes the kids got to go to school, man.
That's one of the benefits of homeschooling, though. If we did homeschool, is like you could fit that all in those hours, isn't it?
Yeah, man. And
then they could have their
homeschooling,
weekends.
I do. The more I hear about it, the more I like.
Yeah.
I really like it.
What are your thoughts though with the homeschool side of things, where it's like they won't be able to interact with as many people, as many kids or stuff like that.
Yeah, so I also had that thought, and then
Like,
I think
will it affect them socially?
so. I think it was Sheikh Tim who was on the pod to talk about this, where he's like, it's a misconception. Sheikh Tim Humble.
Yeah, he did say that. He said that you can send them to wrestling club and jiu-jitsu and tennis and all these different things that make them interact with, and the message they interact with kids. However, I will say that out of the two, I do still lean more on there will be less good at interacting with kids.
So for me, it's like, it's up to you, right? So before, I thought homeschooling was like the mum or dad has to teach them like 3-4 hours a day. Like you get the textbooks that you teach them.
Yeah, that's what I used to think.
That's what I used to think. But actually, in actuality, it's not that. You're more like, as a parent, you're more like the head teacher. You decide how each topic gets taught and how each day would be. So a couple of days a week, they could be actually out in like communal settings or in club settings doing stuff, right? So it's like, instead of you teaching them maths at home, no, there's actually a maths club they teach in downtown, whatever. They go 2 hours at maths club, and they go 2 hours Quran lesson. It's all communal. They do.
Or like the French teacher is on Zoom.
Yeah, and then for PE, you say, cool, I want to sign you up for swimming lessons, I want to sign you up for rugby classes, and this is all communal stuff. So that's actual homeschooling, where it's like you're not doing everything in the living room. It's actually however you want to do it. So some people do like a lot of outdoorsy stuff, like as you would have a geography lesson every week. They've got an outdoors lesson every week. They go into the desert, they go into the woods, go somewhere.
I feel like me as a kid, I would not take that seriously at all. Like if I was getting homeschooled and I had all this flexibility and like the weird structure compared to everyone else, I feel like I just wouldn't.
I mean, it's up to the parents.
I'm not against that. If anything, I probably I like the idea, but I'm just thinking.
No, stand on your truth, bro.
yeah.
But I'm with you, bro. Like
as a kid, I would find it hard. All this, like you said, like one day it's this and a little bit at home, then a little bit here. It's just like.
I am pro homeschooling, but I do think that you have to be extremely organized parent to do it, and I am not that parent.
Yeah, I'm not. But again, I'd need help because there's a lot of sort of pre-made curriculums that is done for you right now.
Yeah.
So you get a template. So someone will say, look, this is the template that you can use, and you can customize it a little bit, but the template is there. But what I mean by that is you can just set aside, like, okay, Thursday afternoons, that's a time where we're gonna have like a sports club, and then Quran lessons, and that's all communal stuff. And then Monday mornings also we're gonna have this other communal thing. My point being, you can organize it in such a way where they're still getting quite a lot of social interactions with adults, with people with their own children, their own age. So if you organize it properly, I don't think it becomes an issue of social interaction. Yeah.
Interesting.
Because also, I mean, the pushback on that is, when you're at school, you interact with the same 20 people every day.
Not really.
A lot of the time,
because
you do.
at recess and lunchtime, you're out and about with 50 or 60 other people who are out there too.
But again, it's quite limited. And again, if the homeschooling situation, I think would compensate for that plenty. And with the homeschooling, with the normal schooling, it's like you get into a bubble, which is good, and that, in a way, it kind of mimics adult life as well, because you make your own bubble. But I don't think it's necessarily like a million miles away from what a homeschooling environment would be, where it's like you've got a bubble of people in your swimming club and in your Quran lessons and this, and it's like, these are my people who I interact with. And
I think homeschooling right now is the best option that we have.
Yeah.
But,
That's like hard labor.
Yeah, but it's hard labor, and I'm not like anti-school.
It's another
I'm
job
definitely not
as well
anti-school.
for the parents.
Yeah,
it's almost a whole nother job now.
It is, but again, like,
I said to Sheikh Tim that time on the podcast, I was like, what about a Muslim school?
it exists. There's a couple based here, by the way.
No, yeah, and I thought that was a good alternative. That is, I think, the best alternative in my opinion.
Yeah.
But his opinion was like, even then, he was like, I don't think that it's good, because he said, like, you can't control the kids. You control your kid and the environment. You can't control the other kids' home environments and that what they bring in school. I do think it's valid what he's saying, because like your kids will swear or they'll like be naughty, and then that does rub off. But I still think I think maybe like a Muslim school is probably
Would that not go for them attending sporting?
Yeah,
stuff
that's
too,
true.
then?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, so what I meant is actually there's a few Islamic online school platforms based here.
Yes,
right?
yeah.
But yeah, you're right. It's Islamic schools as well. I think it's obviously better than the normal school, but yeah, he's correct in saying that, like, again, you've got 30 kids in a room. You don't know what all their parents are like at home and all the habits they have. And as they get older as well, this is one thing I think about a lot, is as they get old. Right now, my eldest is 6. She's still quite young. But as she gets closer to like high school age, I've really got to think about it again, which is like, There is a bit
Yeah,
more
yeah, I hear that.
habits
I do
coming
hear
in,
that,
You know,
yeah.
so I get worried about that. But yeah, there's
I do see the importance of homeschooling more and more as they get older.
yes. So, but yeah, on this topic of like, there's online Islamic schools where, so it's like a Zoom, it's like COVID learning, or it's like remote learning. So they will have actual lessons with actual, they have an actual teacher who they know by name, like a normal teacher, but it's all online. So, you know, Mondays at 9 a.m., you come for registration and they have like 2 hours of lessons, they have a break, then they have 2 more hours of lessons and it's done for the day. And it's all on Zoom. So technically they're at school in the living room type of thing.
Yeah.
And then you can do an hour of something else at the end of that, Quran or this and that. So there's that sort of hybrid approach too, which is getting popular, by the way.
Yeah.
I see a lot
Could
of people
they
doing
could they like fall into like almost like not is there benefit in them getting up, getting ready, getting out of the house?
it. There is.
There is, right?
Which is why I would even if I was doing that, I would have to.
Yeah, you'd have to buy a new house. Yeah. It's like, okay, go on, kids, we're going to school.
Yeah.
And it's just a house, it's another house that has Zoom in it.
I'm pretty sure.
Zoom on the telly.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure someone was like being an influencer for one of these things, and they were showing their kids at school there. And I'm pretty sure, if I'm remembering correctly, their kids were dressed up. Even though they're in the living
Well,
room,
that's
they
good,
had their
that's
like
good, that's
little
good.
tie on.
Yeah, that's really good.
Which is a good, yeah. So
Yeah,
again,
it's
you can
good
still
habit.
have these kind of things, but again, it's also a case of like, cool, you know, 2-3 times a week you're gonna have this swimming. I keep going back to swimming for some reason.
Yeah.
Swimming club, you got to get ready for it. You got to have your towel ready, so you can still implement all these sort of
Yeah, that's
habits,
true.
stuff like that. I think. I'm not against it, man. And again, the concept of a school, an institution where your kids go all together. Yeah, to an extent, for lessons and things like that, it's always existed. But this whole concept of like they go there from 7 a.m, they come back at 2:30, and they're totally away from their family that whole time. I don't know, man. I don't know if I love it, even though my child's there right now.
Yeah.
I don't know if I love it.
Yeah. Just reminded me that I promised Khalil that I'm going to pick him up with some cookies.
Yeah, that's fair. What kind?
So I get some for the office and then take some for him as well.
Actually, I'm going to have to just get some delivered here
Yeah.
because soon, only way I can get it done. By the way, Khurram's coming here. I've got a meeting with him at 1.
Oh, nice, man. Okay, I'll just catch up with him.
Yeah.
He's coming here at 1, you said?
Yeah. He's going to be here. Yeah, post Dhuhr.
Probably, yeah.
All right. Guys, that's the pod today. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And we'll be back to regular schedule now, reg schedule. Remember that you can get your tickets now for the Fresh Ground Tour, fg.live. And come see us in a few weeks' time. London, Birmingham, more cities to be announced. Inshallah, just kind of working through with the venues. Got some emails to get back to. And yada, yada, yada. But if you're in London or Birmingham, book your tickets. They're going to go fast because they're on early bird discount. They're the cheapest our tickets have ever been. Go grab them. If you've never been to Fresh Ground event before, you don't know what's about to hit you because they are like just great, entertaining, fun, surprising, just everything. And it's pre-Ramadan. It's our way of checking into Ramadan, getting ourselves ready for it. So join us. Jazakallahu khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.